Alright, so programming the trig board is actually very easy on this version. That's actually one of my favorite things about this version, and actually I put a lot of time into this part of the board because I like writing a lot of different programs for the trig board. So to get started with this though, you obviously are going to need the base firmware, which is available from the wiki. So if you go there and then click base firmware here, you see that I've got the code available for download, then all of the versions of the tools. So there's the Arduino IDE, the ESP core, the Wi-Fi manager, and the JSON library. So if you go through these steps, you should be good to go. The only new library that I'm using is the PushSafer library, which is actually quite nice and makes life a whole lot easier. So instead of doing the connection all manually like I've done in previous versions of this code, I just use the available library. So I've got that, and you should then be able to compile this successfully. I always go and use the Adafruit Feather Husa board and then max out the upload speed and then set everything else up. I think these are all the defaults. And actually, I'm not going to erase all the flash contents, just the sketch. And then the port, which for this, if we're doing it over USB, I recommend using my USB to serial converter. This has the genuine FTDI FT230X and also real level shifters down here. So that's just what I'm using, and I know it works. The jumper settings, power off, and 3.3 volts, and that's it. So if we plug it in just like this, I've got a lot of silkscreen on the board now, so it's also easy to kind of line things up. So you'll see DTR, DTR, TX goes to RX, and then TX goes to RX, and then ground. And then that's all there is to it. So now let's go ahead and let's see, click verify. Let's make sure that it can compile. I would go through the steps on getting everything installed, but if you just follow the wiki here step by step, you should be good to go. So we've got a successful compile there. Now we can upload it, and this is so cool. The board is sleeping right now, so we do have to wake it up. So if we keep it like this, you'll see that we've got the wake button right here. Before, we had to go through sort of a dance of the buttons is what I called it, because you had to press and hold the wake button, then reset, then grab the GPIO 0 button. It was a pain. In this version of the board, all you have to do is make sure the board is awake. In fact, what you can do is I just clicked upload, and as soon as you see this change from uploading, just press, and there we go. I just pressed and released the wake button, and you see now down here that it automatically started uploading. And it does that because I, in this version, designed in an auto reset circuit. So it actually handles the whole sequence of toggling the GPIO 0 line and reset line, all from the DTR signal from the USB to serial converter. Very cool. And so, I mean, you saw how fast and easy that was. Let's do it again. So we'll go over here, click upload, and then as soon as I see this change from compiling to uploading, I'll just press and hold the wake button. And then as soon as you see the LED turn off, you can let go. Because over here, now it's taken over and it is uploading the sketch. You see it there. It's awesome. Very cool. But that's not all. It's actually even, there's even better features than that. So let's show you some other things you can do here. Okay, so you see I've got the link put in here, trigBoard.local update. That's for OTA programming. And to get it into OTA mode, what you do is we're going to wake it up, and we're going to press and hold. Actually, we don't need the USB to serial converter, so I'll get rid of that. We're going to press and hold the wake button. Now, in order for this to work, we need the board to already be configured. So it already has the Wi-Fi settings. And it needs those settings because we're going to do an OTA update, over-the-air update on our network here. So it needs to be able to connect to that network. So if we press and hold the wake button, which, by the way, if we go over here to tools, you see that we were only erasing the sketch. We weren't actually erasing the other flash contents, which include the push safer key and the Wi-Fi settings. So it should still be able to use those settings in memory. Okay, I know I'm rambling on and on and on here. Yeah, one more thing. Let's see. If we go here to the base firmware, you see this bin file for OTA programming. You can download that out, and then that's one way to load the code on. Or what we can do is go to Sketch and export compiled binary. And when you do that, it's going to put a bin file in the Sketch folder. So once you do that, then go to Show Sketch Folder, and you'll see that bin file, which we'll get to here in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it into OTA mode. So all we do is press and hold the wake button. I'm going to hold it now. Okay, so what it's doing is it's connecting to the network. It's going to send the push notification, which we'll let go there as soon as we see it flashing. And now, when you see it slow flashing like that, it's in OTA mode. So we can go over now and go to a browser. I'm going to copy this link here. We're going to go to the browser, and I'm going to just paste that in and go. Okay, then you should see this screen here. We're going to choose the file now, that bin file, and there is the file we're going to use, and we'll choose that, and then just click Update. And what's cool about this is you really don't need the Arduino IDE at all, so you could do this without, and you can see the LEDs are flashing a little bit there. So you don't need the Arduino IDE to flash it. So if you had this somewhere and all you just needed to send somebody a bin file, they could very easily update their own firmware. And that's it. So now it has the new code, and that's how that works. So I thought that was a very cool way of doing the OTA. In previous versions of this base firmware, you might remember that the OTA, in order to get it to work, you had to put it into OTA mode and then reboot the Arduino IDE, and then you would see a network port show up here. And it was kind of flaky. Sometimes it took a few cycles. Sometimes I had to reboot my machine. Didn't always work easily on Mac and Windows, and so there's a lot of compatibility issues with it. With this, it's all self-contained and hosted right from the board, which is very cool. One more thing. Now, if you wanted to wipe the Wi-Fi settings out, and also if you wanted to change the message that you wanted displayed, like instead of this being the front door, you wanted it to be the side door, or you didn't like the message, in order to get back to that captive portal window, what you do is you press and hold the wake button, and when you see it flash, continue to hold the wake button. So there it is. Now we're going to continue to hold it, and then as soon as you see the LED go solid, it now is in AP mode, and you should be able to go to your Wi-Fi settings and connect to trigBoard. So that's what I'm going to do now for my computer. Okay, I just click trigBoard, and here is our captive portal, and I'm going to give it new settings. Okay, and again, I just clicked save, and then over here you should see the LED do that fast flash, indicating that it successfully was able to use those settings. And then we could use the sensor, the external sensor, to wake it up, or we could just press and hold the wake button for like 1 second and then let go, and that would also be a trigger. So let me get my phone out here. Okay, here we go. And then it's connecting and sending the push notification through Push Safer, and then there it is on my phone. New settings triggered. So that's it. Great. And that's the base firmware.